James Connor. I'm Riggs Eckelberry, the CEO of OriginClear, which has been developing modular water systems with the brilliant Dan Early for many years now. And you're here to report on a particular project that we were not able to talk about a lot because, of course, it was in zip-it locations. So tell me what, James, tell me what you're involved with and how it related to modular water.
Well, I've got two projects that I've worked with Modular Water on. One is a membrane bioreactor for a mobile home park that was commissioned in January, and the other one that I think you're probably referring to is at a power plant at in Peach Bottom, Pennsylvania. That is an ongoing design build endeavor between the power company Constellation and Modular Water. And in the early stages of that, I helped assemble the design build team for the project.
Well, okay, so it can be told that the power plant. All right, so yeah, we've done power plant projects before over on the progressive water treatment side, but that's all very industry standard, custom engineering. For example, we have a major power plant in the Southwest, multiple power plants with their filtration requirements. But here, I take it we took advantage of the modular drop-in-place capability of modular water systems.
That's correct. Yes, and that is absolutely what helped us win the contract for this project. They knew that they were looking for a package system. Did not expect to get the level of a complete package that they are receiving through this venture with Modular Water, especially the complete controls package being delivered in a prefabricated building with all wiring, parts, and components pretty much ready to go when it arrives on site. In addition, I don't think that they expected the level of cooperation as a team, as far as the engineering and design assistance that Modular Water and Dan Early and Rob Litos and the team brought to the table to work with the consultants that the power company already had on board, and everything worked seamlessly. We received the DEP permit, which was the responsibility of Modular Water. Received that, I believe, on our first try, which is a rare occurrence. So we were right on schedule, if not a bit ahead of schedule. And when the regulatory agencies get involved, that's often not the case.
Was the Peach Bottom project above ground or below ground?
It's half and half. So the control building obviously is above ground, and there's some tankage as part of that. And then the reactors are half in the ground and half out of the ground, probably extending about 3 feet or so above grade. I believe it's 42 inches is what they went with above grade. And it is the sandwich panel polypropylene fabricated tanks, which were very, very interesting to the entire project team. The end user was excited to use them, but had a little bit of apprehension, if you will, with getting it through the DEP permitting process, which we didn't have any issues whatsoever.
It's fascinating because the high density polyethylene is great, especially during all the supply chain issues we had, post pandemic, because polyethylene and polypropylene are very low grade, and whereas other manufacturers are experiencing all kinds of issues, we're like, yeah, no problem, we got this. That was a lot of fun. So the reason I asked about above ground or below ground is because we have two product lines. One is Avera Treat, which is the underground, and one is Avera Skid, which drops onto a pad. And it sounds like it was the former. So what was the throughput of the Peach Bottom setup?
I believe we ended up with a 20,000 gallon per day system, which there was some back and forth with the project team on that right from the beginning. The interesting part about this system is there's a period of time once per year that lasts about 3 weeks where there is a significantly higher flow because the plant shuts down for maintenance, and they bring in a large crew of maintenance workers. Their original plan was to kind of forget about that and pump and haul during that period.
Wow.
And when, we kind of got an idea of what they were trying to accomplish there, we said, well, wait a minute, let's see if there's a way to get you through this period without bearing that expense of pumping and hauling for 3 weeks. So Dan Early and his team helped take a look at that, especially with the fixed film process that we were going with here. Really helped it really gave us the ability to get through that period with very minimal, if any, pumping and hauling. We do still have the provisions to do that if they feel it's necessary, but they may be able to get through that period without pumping and hauling at all.
That's good news. Well, so what I take away from this, Jim, is that customer had an experience that was above and beyond what they expected, the modularity, the completeness, and for the engineers especially, it was great to have a turnkey type setup. And I suspect that it is also going to help with maintenance, right? There's not one of the features I've been learning from these interviews is that Dan Early and Rob and team, they design these things so that typically a regular facilities manager can take care of this without a lot of expertise. Is that what you expect for this setup?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It's a simple system to operate. They will still need to have a licensed operator.
Sure.
Because it is a permitted discharge, but the plant maintenance staff will be able to take care of this facility for the most part.
That's really fantastic. Well, so that's the Peach Bottom installation, 20K gallons per day. And then now Modular Water Systems has been getting into the housing market. So tell me about that project.
So that was a project that, oh man, I was involved with for probably 5 years, trying to help this mobile home park owner who really got raked over the coals, if you will, years ago, and spent an awful lot of money on a stand mount system that wasn't permitted, it wasn't designed correctly, and was having issues. The owner was basically giving a court order to get the wastewater system fixed, or they were going to shut down the park. She had already spent the money that was slated for this project. Mobile home park with approximately 40 connections can't come up with hundreds of thousands of dollars at the tip of a hat, especially if you've already spent what you had. So I was being involved in particular in the small flows treatment systems throughout eastern Pennsylvania. I was determined to find a way to help this owner do something not only quickly but economically. And I looked at a number of different options, from recirculating sand filters to steel package plants, and you name it, anything in between. And when I first met Dan Early, boy, this project came to mind right away. I said, boy, I think we might have something here that we can, that we can really help this woman out and get her out of trouble. The price was excellent. The assistance, she didn't have a lot of money up front to pay a consulting engineering firm, so to design something from scratch. So the fact that this was pretty much a pre-engineered solution for her was fantastic. As soon as I presented it to her, she's like, I like this. I met with the operators. They were fully on board. It's a membrane bioreactor. The effluent requirements at this particular facility were pretty stringent, which made some of the other technologies a little tricky. They would have required tertiary treatment, filtration to get down to those numbers, which drove the cost up on basically all of the other alternatives.
So the discharge to the ground.
It's a discharge to a stream, but it's a very small stream.
Interesting.
It's the Neville Mobile Home Park.
Absolutely, Neville Home Park. So that is great, because the problem with mobile home parks, as we found, is that either there's no ready connection to the city, or the city just doesn't want to connect, right? Either way. Yep. No, you got to take care of it yourself. It's too much of a burden. And you're also upgrading from some pretty archaic systems. One system in Troy, Alabama was this, passive pond, which is basically a bunch of green algae, duckweed. And that's not pretty. And so absolutely, the environmental department, the departments of environmental quality, whatever they're called, depending on the state, are really getting onto this, rightly so. But it's creating this huge problem. And so I think the package was a Vera skid, in other words, on a pad, right?
Yep.
And then combined, there was a pump station as well, right?
There was a small pump station, yes. So what we were able to do is reutilize the existing tankage that they had in the ground for the septic system that was failing. We took the effluent from the septic tanks, which was then treated for primary. So very little solids, suspended solids coming into the membrane bioreactor. But that was all underground, so we needed a small pump station to lift up into the system, which was a perfect fit. Being that Modular Water also provides packaged pump stations, we're able to do it very economically, keep the controls in the same package as right. the treatment plant itself. The pump station was right next to it. The power was coming out of the same power panel. So ancillary equipment such as power and controls that sometimes add quite a bit of cost to pump stations were able to be added onto our treatment plant package for very little cost.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, and you'd think that the industry would be thinking that way already. Self-contained and standardized packages, scalable. And yet we're still in the era of like building homes versus just having these boxable type, things. And I think that's where Dan is really, revolutionary. What do you foresee for Iron Horse's future with Modular Water? Do you see expanding into other verticals? Where do you see things going?
Yeah, I think there's opportunity in not only the mobile home parks, but Pennsylvania in particular is littered with a lot of small treatment plants, small municipalities. We do not have a lot of centralized wastewater treatment facilities once you get outside of the metro areas. So gas stations, travel plazas, campgrounds, all of those types of facilities are usually, once you get outside the metro areas, are on their own as far as their water and wastewater utilities are concerned. So I believe there's a lot of opportunity ahead for us.
Yeah, and the old line decentralized water treatment, which was septics, has all kinds of issues, as we know, with potential failure, contamination of the groundwater, viral and bacterial load, and also in many cases regulations prevent the septic tank from going in due to distance. For example, FHA requires a certain distance to finance a home with a septic. So I think it's really exciting what you're talking about, which is everywhere where there is detached installations, it makes sense for them to have built-in black water treatment and, of course, the ability to recycle. I wanted to ask you one last topic, really. You talked about how Neville Home Park, had a budget issue. One of the big initiatives that we're working on is called Water on Demand, and it's basically water as a service. So, you don't have to expend the capital, maybe spend some money on the engineering study, but after that, you sign a service contract, 10, 15 years, and you just pay as you're accustomed to on the meter, and it's paid per gallon. But will that be a major factor in helping customers move along, or how significant could that be in the end?
So I think it's going to depend a lot on who the customer is and the timing of that presentation. So that is something that we did talk to Neville Mobile Home Park about. It was a high level conversation, and I think it probably stalled out because they were under a timing issue.
Mm-hmm.
With DEP, and there really wasn't enough time for them to vet that thoroughly as an option. She ended up getting a partnership with another mobile home park developer,
Mm.
and kind of split ownership with them, and that's how she was able to kind of finance the project. But it certainly was something that was of interest. And I think going forward, the concept has some merit for sure. Many of these, the list that I just gave you, right? Mobile home parks, travel plazas, campgrounds, they don't want to be in the utility business.
Yeah.
They want to run their campground. They want to run their business. So if there's an opportunity for them to pay someone else to just take care of it,
Mm-hmm.
then you guys are taking it a step beyond the contract operators, right? Because that's what most of these facilities are using now is it's contract operations. Well, at the end of the day, the owner is still holding that permit. That
Exactly.
permit's still in their name. If OriginClear or Modular Water can come in there and take that ultimate responsibility, take ownership of that, I think that there's definitely some value.
Yeah, I think that's what we've learned is that we need to propose the water as a service, which is called water on demand, early in the process, so that it's not like, oh my God, whoa, because it's a major decision. They have to really inspect, on a long service contract. Well, how does this work out financially versus paying for it up front, all those things, and so this is why we actually OriginClear sold. It's an internal transaction, but we sold Modular Water Systems to our other subsidiary, Water on Demand, so that Dan Early and his team could propose this to the consulting engineer right at the beginning of a discussion. Say, hey, by the way, this could be done on a rent-a-center model, where you don't have to. The asset remains in the name of Water on Demand, and you pay as you would with the utility, and you don't have to worry about maintenance or anything. We just take care of it all. That's something that is so revolutionary that it has to come up early. And then we have to also accumulate a track record, right? It's one of those, chicken and egg situations. Like, okay, where's the first pilot? Well, we need the first pilot, but we don't have a pilot. One of those things. So, we're actually making some headway in finding some willing victims, so we can work our way into it. But our expectation is that it's going to work a lot like synergistically, like GM and GM Financial, where they help each other. Now, not every GM car is sold with GM Financial financing, but it's a big help to close deals. It's synergistic, right. And it's also a source of very good margins, right? So we're very excited about this. But what we realized was the existing modular water systems business, which literally tripled between 21 and 22, is already just on the design and build basis doing fantastically well. We're not going to break that. We're not going to say, okay, now everything's got to be service contracts. We want to continue to scale up and work with engineering firms like yours on the classic model, and then over time merge in the other so that it becomes part of a complete package. And I think that will make us a good all around player to suit all financial situations, et cetera.
Right. Agreed.
Well, Jim, it's been such a pleasure talking, some of it speculatively, but a lot of it had to do with your experience with these two sites, that it worked out well. And I looking forward to continued relationship with your organization. And here's to a great rest of the year, more projects, more wins, and scaling up our mutual businesses.
Sounds good. Same to you, Riggs. It's been a pleasure. And you guys ever need anything from me, don't hesitate to ask.
Jim, thank you so much, and have a good day.
Thank you. You too.